This video tutorial shows how to customize the way your final reports look. For this tutorial, we'll be walking through all the options available in print settings to modify the way your final reports look. To change the way the report looks, we need to go to Print Settings. And we can do this either by clicking on the Settings tab or by clicking on the Print Settings icon from the toolbar. Let's go ahead and click on the icon. When we open it up, you'll see that we have 4 tabs. We have Margins, Page Options, Page Layout, and Fonts. And on these 4 tabs give you all the options you need to really customize the way your reports look. Let's start with the Margins tab and work through all the options. At the top of the Margins tab, we have an area where we can change each of the margins for the page. Below that, we have category headers. And here we can change the style. And so by clicking on the drop down, we'll see all the options available. The color, as well as the size of the category headers on the printed report. And so with that, that's a look at the Margins tab. Let's go ahead and move on to the Page Options tab. The Page Options tab has a lot of options, so let's get started. First, we have Create Summaries. And so if you don't want summaries to appear with your report, then you would want to uncheck this. The next option is for numbering the summary items. If you don't want the items in the summaries to be numbered, then you would uncheck this box. Next is Use Standard Fonts in Summaries. The way it works by default is that whatever fonts you use for each note you type in is the same font that will appear in the summary. If you'd like your summary to use the same font throughout, then you should check this box so that it has one standard look in the summaries. Then we have Combine Rating Summaries. By checking this option, the program will create only one summary with each report instead of having separate summary for each rating marked to create a summary. Below that, we have Print a Cover Page at the beginning of each report. If you check this option, you'll then have the option to go into your cover page settings, and this just sets it so that every time you start an inspection, you have the option to add in a cover page for that report. After that is Use Text Separator, and this allows you to separate your notes from your description so that when your report prints, there's something in between. By default, we have a space, a dash, and then another space to separate the description from the note. Here we have Include Table of Contents, which is checked by default. If you uncheck this option, then a table of contents will not be created for your report. Below that is View Photos. And this is where you decide whether you want your photos to show up in both the summary and the body of the report, in just the summary, or in just the body. Coming up to the right column, we have Print Entered Lines Only. If you check this option, that means that any lines you don't fill out will not show up on the printed report. Below that is Print Line Numbers. With this item checked, that means that on the printed report, within each category, it's going to number each line in that section. The last checkbox we have here is Secure PDF. If you check this option, then the program will add in an additional level of security to the PDF files you create. And it's important to know that if you do check this, then the PDF files that you create within the program and send to your clients will not be able to be printed. So if we jump down from here, we have Print Order. And this is where you can change whether the summaries appear before the main body or after it. Below that, we have a section for our ratings. The first option is View Ratings. And this is where you can control whether your ratings show up as checkboxes, the words pronounced, they show up as text, or if your ratings don't print at all. And then we have Rating Keys. And Rating Keys is the information that shows up at the top of each category. Instead of having it just show the abbreviations, you can have it show the full rating key, an abbreviated version, or you can set it so that it doesn't print. Let's go ahead and jump to the Page Layout tab. The Page Layout tab allows you to control the way the header of your report appears. So by default, we have our company name, which it appears centered above the header. The date and time will show up on the top left, line 1, and then the page number shows up in the top right, line 3. And for each of these, you can click on the drop down and choose where you want them to show up. You also have the option to change the font of these items to change how it looks on each page of the report. Next, we have 3 places for custom text fields. By default, we use 2 of these to display the client name on each page of the report as well as the property address. And for these 2 particular custom fields, we're using merge fields, so that when you type in the client name and general information, it's automatically going to pull what you type in and then place it on the top right, the first line on each page of the report. Next, we have a spot for our company logo and a few settings related to where the logo shows up. To add your company logo to each page, you simply click on the 3 dots and then select your company logo file. Finally, we have the Fonts tab. On the Fonts tab, the first thing we have is template text, and this is the font for the items such as the category headers and the line prompts. Next is data text. Data text is the font for items such as the ratings, descriptions, and the notes, basically anything that you type in. The program allows you to have different fonts for the template text and the data text, so it's very easy to separate out in the report what you've entered versus what is part of the template. Then after that, we have the company name font. The last option we'll discuss here is the Restore Default Print Settings, which is in the lower left corner of each tab of print settings. As you experiment and make changes to the print settings, you can always go back to the standard out-of-the-box print settings by clicking on this button. And when you do that, it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to restore all your default print settings? And if you click yes, it's going to take all the settings back to the standard out-of-the-box settings. This concludes the tutorial on customizing the way your final reports look.